Well, hello again. Here we are on a windy day on the veranda, and it's with great pleasure that I've got Andrew Cooley from Cooley Auctions joining me to talk about buying and selling property today via auction. So Andrew would have to be the #1 auctioneer in the Shire, by far.
Thank you, Peter.
That's all right. And with his brother Damien, probably runs the most effective group of auctioneers across Sydney, in fact. Andrew is a new dad and a real family man, so he's able to relate to people at all different levels. So we've been fortunate enough to work with Andrew for something like over 9 years.
Yeah, 9 or 10 years now, I think.
9 or 10 years.
Yep. In fact, I remember our very first auction together. On the driveway, cul-de-sac, and we sold it.
We did sell it, and it's been a good relationship ever since, in fact.
Yep.
So, so that's actually reason why we brought Andrew on board, is the fact it's probably fair to say that Andrew's earned hundreds of thousands of dollars more for our vendors over the years. So thank you for that.
Our pleasure.
So he's very well placed to talk about what's been happening as far as auctions are concerned across the Shire and across Sydney. So a couple of questions, Andrew.
Sure.
Firstly, from a seller's point of view, what's the advantages of selling at auction?
Well, in my opinion, there are 3 main reasons why an owner would go to auction and how that would then give them the best possible chance of getting the best outcome, which is essentially what it's all about. When somebody sells their property, they want to try and maximize the sale price. With auction, we remove price from the equation. So when a buyer looks at a property that's for sale at a certain price, that price automatically caps the value of that home. And it's quite rare a buyer will pay more than the asking price. Whereas when they see the term auction, it creates a sense of competition, a sense of urgency, and when we get them on the auction floor with good competitive bidding, we have every chance of actually exceeding the reserve price. And in actual fact, in the month of July, we averaged $45,000 above reserve. So for example, if a property were sale at $900,000, it would be quite rare that a buyer would come in and say, Peter, can I pay you $945,000 for that property?
True.
Whereas if we get them in a competitive environment, we get competition going, we can try and exceed that expectation on price. The next point would be the fact that at the moment, banks are taking a long time to get people pre-approved and for buyers to get finance organised. And a lot of deals are falling over during cool-off periods. So the other big advantage about auction is it's an unconditional sale. So when that hammer falls, the property is sold. It ties the buyer in, and it means that they can't withdraw from that contract. And if they were to, then of course there'd be penalties associated.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. I mean, it's very good reason to take a property to auction.
Yeah, and look, honestly, so many properties at the moment are actually falling over during cool-offs. People are doing their building and pest reports, or for some reason the vow didn't stack up. Auction secures that sale price on that day, and it gives the owner confidence knowing that they've sold the property for the price in which the gavel fell for. The next big point that I think is really important as well is the fact that it does create competition. As humans, we work towards a deadline. So when I see a property for sale on a certain date and a certain time, it creates urgency for me as a buyer to get all of my finances organised, my building and pest reports organised, everything I need to do by that date and time. Whereas with private treaty, there's no urgency behind the sale. So they're the 3 main points I think auctions are really benefiting owners, particularly in today's market.
Yeah, no, very good point, actually. So there's just a second question, if I can.
Sure.
Hopefully now that we're moving out of the restrictive period of COVID,
Yep.
What do you see has changed with auctions now?
There's been a fair bit change. When the lockdown came on here in Sydney, we moved to online auctions through our Auction Now platform, and that was quite well received. But now that auctions have been reinstated and open homes have been reinstated, there are a number of COVID practices that we're putting in place to ensure the safety of the general public, but also ourselves as well. So if you're attending an auction of late, you'd notice that there'd be social distancing.
Yeah.
So everybody's standing the 1.5 metres apart from each other. All bidding cards are being sanitised. We're not shaking hands. And agents are also keeping their distance from the buyers as well when they're negotiating with them.
Yes.
So there's some of the changes that have come into play. But with our in-room auctions, we've also been limiting the amount of people that can be in the room, because we are still restricted to how many people we can have present and watching. So with the in-rooms, it's more so now just buyers as opposed to buyers with all their friends and family coming along to support them.
Okay, good. And hopefully it'll just get easier and easier as we move out of this situation.
Exactly.
So thanks, Andrew. So look, there you have another view from the veranda from someone who really knows a lot about auctions and have run thousands of them in the Shire and the St George area. So look, obviously if you are looking to have an auction, make sure the Cooley Auctions have got the hammer in their hand. They're the ones. Andrew and his team are also always available either through your agent or directly to give advice and whatever. That's where we fit in as well as agents. Obviously if you need to contact us or message us, that's what we're here for. But I'd like to thank Andrew for taking the time to share his views on the veranda.
My pleasure. I've always been a big fan of views on the veranda, so I'm thrilled to be here today. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. So, but until then, take care and look after each other. Thank you.